Most men mistake silence for uncertainty. They assume hesitation means she's still thinking, still weighing, still undecided. That assumption is comforting, and almost always wrong. Before we go any further, if you're here for clarity instead of reassurance, stay with the channel and make sure you're subscribed. Confusion is loud. It asks questions. It reaches outward, pulls information in. Decision is quiet. It withdraws, conserves energy. It stops explaining. When a woman says she's confused, what she often means is that her mind is catching up to a conclusion her nervous system has already reached. The body decides first. The story comes later. This isn't manipulation. It's biology. The nervous system doesn't debate. It assesses. It asks simple questions, continuously and without language. Is this stable? Is this predictable? Is this aligned with where I'm going? Once the answers shift toward no, the system begins detaching long before the person can articulate why. That detachment doesn't look dramatic. It looks like distance, shorter responses, less emotional charge, fewer follow-up questions. Men often read this as confusion because they're still emotionally engaged. But engagement on one side doesn't mean indecision on the other. Here's the uncomfortable truth. By the time she says, "I don't know what I want," she usually knows exactly what she doesn't want. And that's enough. Decision doesn't always come as a clear yes or no. Sometimes it arrives as loss of motivation, loss of curiosity, loss of emotional investment. Those losses don't announce themselves. They simply happen. Pause for a moment here. Think about how decisions form in your own body. You don't deliberate over every meal, every route home, every micro-choice. Your system chooses efficiency over explanation. So does hers. There's a psychological bias that keeps men stuck at this stage. It's called effort justification. The more energy you've invested, the harder it is to accept that the outcome is already determined. So you interpret withdrawal as uncertainty. You see space as a chance. You assume time will fix what time has already eroded. But time doesn't reverse nervous system decisions. Confirms them. Let's talk about how these decisions actually form. They don't come from one event. They come from accumulation. A series of small disappointments that didn't feel serious enough to address. Moments where she adjusted silently. Expectations she lowered without announcing it. Each time, the nervous system updated its model of the relationship. Not consciously, somatically. By the time the model no longer predicts fulfillment, attachment loosens. She may still care. She may still enjoy moments. But the trajectory is set. That's what men feel but don't name. The trajectory. This is why last-minute gestures rarely work. Flowers, promises, sudden emotional availability. They arrive after the system has already reoriented. They feel out of sync. Another pause. This isn't about fairness. It's about timing. Decisions made at the nervous system level don't reverse because of information. They reverse because of sustained embodied change. And sustained change cannot be demonstrated under pressure. Pressure activates defense, not trust. There's also a misunderstanding about female communication that keeps men stuck. Men often believe that if she hasn't said no, the answer is still undecided. But women are more likely to communicate indirectly once emotional safety feels compromised. Not out of deceit, out of risk management. Direct rejection can provoke conflict. Distance is safer. So she creates space. She slows responses. She becomes vague. Men label this confusion because it doesn't fit their communication logic. But it fits hers. Here's an expectation-breaking thought. Indecision is not the opposite of decision. Indifference is. And indifference doesn't argue. It disengages. That's why her energy feels different before she leaves. Not angry, not dramatic, just quieter. This is often when men say, "She changed." She didn't change. She concluded. The conclusion just hadn't reached language yet. Now let's talk about attachment. Women with secure attachment decide faster than men expect. Not because they're impulsive, but because they trust their internal signals. Women with anxious attachment appear indecisive, but often aren't. They oscillate emotionally while the core decision remains stable. The oscillation confuses men. They interpret emotional fluctuation as openness. But emotional fluctuation is not the same as reconsideration. Reconsideration requires re-engagement. If she's not asking questions about the future, she's not reconsidering it. There's also the role of identity here. Relationships don't just fail because of incompatibility. They fail when one person outgrows the version of themselves that entered the relationship. When that happens, the nervous system begins aligning toward the future self, not the present bond. She starts imagining life without you, not fantasizing, projecting. Projection is decision in its earliest form. Once someone starts projecting a future that doesn't include you, the emotional exit has already begun. Words lag behind projection. This is why asking for clarity often produces vague answers. She's not hiding clarity. She's protecting transition. Transitions are fragile. They require internal stability. Explaining too early disrupts them. So she says she's confused. Not because she doesn't know, but because she's not ready to externalize what she knows. Another pause here. Notice how this reframes your role. You're not waiting for her to decide. You're reacting to a decision that's already been made internally. That realization hurts. But it also frees you. Because chasing clarity from someone who's already decided is a losing game. Clarity doesn't come from pressure. It comes from alignment. If alignment is gone, words won't restore it. This doesn't mean you're powerless. It means your power isn't in convincing. It's in observing. When someone is undecided, they lean in. They seek reassurance. They ask for time but remain emotionally present. When someone has decided, they conserve energy. They stop investing. They become neutral. Neutrality is not calm. It's absence of pull. That absence is the signal men miss. They focus on what's said instead of what's no longer happening. No curiosity. No future-oriented language. No emotional escalation. Just polite distance. This is why arguments often erupt near the end. Not because the relationship suddenly became volatile, but because one person is already gone and the other is trying to confirm presence. Conflict is a bid for engagement. Silence is disengagement. When she's decided, even conflict feels unnecessary. She lets things slide because she's no longer invested in correcting them. That's not confusion. That's withdrawal. Now consider the timing of the breakup itself. Men are often shocked by how composed she seems, how prepared, how resolved. That's because the breakup didn't start that day. It started weeks or months earlier. She already grieved while still inside the relationship. By the time she speaks, the emotional processing is complete. What looks sudden to you feels overdue to her. This asymmetry creates the illusion of confusion. It's not that she changed overnight. It's that you didn't see the quiet decisions forming. Here's the final realization to sit with. When a woman is truly confused, she moves toward you. When she's decided, she moves away. Confusion seeks information. Decision seeks distance. Once you understand that, you stop chasing words and start watching behavior. And behavior always tells the truth first. See the pattern. Protect your energy. This is depth realm.